MotoGP. First on the calendar then back in 1992. We had our first Catalan Grand Prix here in 1996. A track built in 1991. The start-finish rate was the host for the team time trial in the 1992 Barcelona Olympics. 4.66 kilometres in length, 2.89 miles, 14 corners, 8 right, 6 left, a long start-finish straight with the MotoGP bikes will be nudging close to 360 kilometres an hour. 1,047 metres is the start-finish straight, which leads into a very heavy braking zone. Turn 1, Turn 4 and Turn 10 really do demand the front end here in Barcelona. Overtaking hot spots, well, plenty of them. 1, 4 in the Grand Prix. Marc Marquez on the inside of Martin into the first corner. Well, 2 weeks ago, we were in Hungary for the first time since 1992. And hungry for more success in 2025 was runaway world championship leader Marc Marquez. Marco Bezzecchi on the factory Aprilia made the early running. It was Marc Marquez who bided his time, played the patient waiting game before there was this attack at the midway point of the Grand Prix. Bezzecchi tried his best to resist, but once again, resistance futile in the face of a Marc Marquez onslaught. Pedro Acosta, after his qualifying dramas at Balaton Park, fought his way through to get another podium as KTM's resurgence continues. But for the 7th successive race, Marc Marquez tied up the double victory, which sees him 175 points clear of brother Alex coming into this chapter 15 of the campaign so far. It has already been a memorable, a brilliant and record-breaking sprint Saturday so far here at the circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya. We had a record-breaking lap time, a first ever 1:37 from Fabio Quartararo in this morning's Q1 session. Quartararo capitalising on that excellent pace to find himself on the front row of the grid, where the Flying Frenchman splits the Marquez siblings. And for just the second time in his MotoGP career, in his backyard in many respects here in Barcelona, his first pole position in 50 since his previous only pole in MotoGP at the Termas 3 Hondo circuit in Argentina, right at the start of 2023. Gresini Racing's Alex Marquez will fire away from the front of the grid. Of course, Alex desperately trying to make sure the Prosecco remains on ice for at least a couple more rounds, because Marc Marquez knows coming into this chapter 15, if he outscores Alex by 10 points, somewhat remarkably, it would mean Marc would go into next weekend's Misano Grand Prix on Italy's Adriatic coast with his first match point to clinch that elusive 7th MotoGP world title. It's inevitable, isn't it, really, that Marc's going to get the job done. He will be world champion in MotoGP for the first time since 2019. But he's got it all on this afternoon and in tomorrow's main Grand Prix. Over 24 laps to fend off his brother Alex, who did say yesterday that this was the circuit where it was possibly one of his better chances of the season to get the better of Marc. Well, that plan has been executed to perfection so far. Alex delivering a show-stopping lap time in that record-breaking historic Q2 this morning, a 1:37.536, which was 0.6 of a second inside of Brad Binder's previous all-time lap record set when the South African topped the timesheets yesterday afternoon. So it's Alex that will lead the field away. It wasn't even really close in Q2 this morning. He was over 1/4 of a second clear of Quartararo, another 1/10.5 clear then ahead of Marc. Drama for some of our stars in MotoGP further down the field. Jorge Martin, 17th on the grid, his lowest ever, 18th rather on the grid, his lowest ever qualifying in MotoGP. And what about Pecco Bagnaia and the factory Ducati, winner of both of our Barcelona battles here in 2024? Well, Bagnaia finds himself marooned down in 21st place. He's having a nightmare here, is the Italian Vignales, Salvadorian Chantra behind him. Matt Bertlow is to be in the commentary box with Jack Appleyard down in pit lane. Fast, flowing in nature, Lewis. We know that this is a track that Alex Marquez has excelled at in the past. His Ducati GP24 was right here last November in the post-season test, which he dominated and was fastest. And clearly in the 12-lap sprint coming up in what, about 25 minutes time, Alex is the rider to beat.
Yeah, sometimes when Marc Marquez tells us that perhaps he's going to be under pressure in a weekend, or he might not have it quite so easy to win, we sort of raise our eyebrows and think, oh yeah, Marc's trying to play down expectations. But he told us yesterday Alex Marquez was the favourite, and he was proven exactly right today, as Alex took that first pole position since the beginning of 2023, round 2 of 2023 in Argentina, when Alex Marquez took his first and, until today, only MotoGP pole. Of course, this, his first dry weather pole position. Marquez starts as favourite, but for once, the favourite may well be named Alex.
A fifth rider on pole position this year for Alex, 16th MotoGP front row start. Now another rider who used to know his way very well around this circuit to Barcelona-Catalunya is Sete Gimeno. I'm delighted to say Sete joins Jack now down in pit lane.
Yeah, he does indeed, under the searing Spanish sunshine. Wow, it's really got hot since I was last with you for qualifying earlier. Even Sete could feel the heat down here. Firstly, great to see you. I think we could be in for quite the race here. For the first time in a very long time, Marc looks vulnerable.
Well, I don't know if I would be that brave to say that. I don't know. That makes it. It's gonna make some difference. I think the difference is gonna be Alex now believes a lot in himself mentally, and this track is most probably. I was talking to the team, and they said this is most probably the track he's waiting for the whole year, and he's coming from some not the best results, so he's gonna be pushing hard. That's gonna make an interesting race, also in the fact that Marc, if he's just capable of being just there, maybe Alex feels the pressure too. You know, the pressure is absolutely on Alex, and that's going to make it interesting. So we'll see. I would never say Marc is out of the game. You know, I wouldn't be that brave, and I think it's going to be a nice, interesting mental battle.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it's the best opportunity that someone has had for a long time. Another rider we can't discount is Pedro Acosta. He's really started to find his rhythm of late. The KTM has taken a clear step. I'm sure that he's going to be desperately motivated to try and get that first win of the year.
If I had to say something, not knowing a lot, of course, but from the outside, from what I've seen, maybe the KTM, when looking at qualify and practice sessions, maybe for the sprint they'll be maybe being able to go all the way with the guys, but I don't see that happening so much on the long for tomorrow, for the long race, because the tire looks from the outside. Of course, I'm no one. I just look from the outside, but it looks like it's going to be hard for them to go all the way in the race with the KTM, but you never know. That's something I've seen from the outside, that it could not happen. So if they want to have the chance, most probably in KTM, today's the day. They want to get the big results, so they're going to be pushing hard for that, for sure.
Sete, always great to see you in chat. Enjoy the race.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. You take care.
Yeah, thanks very much, Jack, and thanks to Sete Gimeno, who certainly is not a no one when it comes to MotoGP. One of the few riders down the years that was able to give Valentino Rossi more than a few headaches, wasn't he, in the past. So yeah, as Sete said, he spoke to the Gresini racing team. They identified this weekend. Alex told the team that he felt that this weekend was going to be a real big chance. He's the only rider, of course, in 2025 that has defeated Marc in a sprint so far this season. That was at the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. Apart from that, sprint Saturdays have been the domain of 93. 13 wins in the opening 14 rounds. He really has cashed in big style, hasn't he? The 32-year-old Spaniard on Saturdays. What is it? I've not jotted it down somewhere. He's up to 455 points now, is Marc. That's only 12 less than Bagnaia won the championship with in 2023. He's only 53 shy with, what, 9 rounds remaining, short of Jorge Martin's point scoring tally last year. It's been an incredible 2025 for Mark. But I think we're going to have to see him work hard if he is to make it 14 sprint wins out of 15 over this 12-lapper.
He's averaging 32.5 points a weekend in 2025. There are only 37 available on every weekend. That's the level that this man has been operating at. But yeah, it's fair to say that the level he's been operating at this weekend is a level below Alex Marquez through the weekend. So yeah, Marquez, I guess he's going to be faced with a bit of a conundrum, isn't he, mentally in this sprint? If he gets into a position where he's behind Alex Marquez, does he risk trying to chase Alex, or does he just say 9 points for second place will do me just fine? He has kept to the same approach throughout 2025. He wins when he knows he can, and when he knows he can't, he maximises the points that are on offer. In fairness, he's not been put in that position many times this season. So will Mark go all in, or will he just think of the bigger picture?
Well, I guess he can sort of take the extra risk if he wants to, with a massive 175-point lead in the World Championship. Alex Marquez needs to steady the ship somewhat. He's lost 92 points to Mark in the last 3 rounds. Of course, it all started to unravel really for Alex when he had that nasty crash with Pedro Acosta in Assen, which left him with that fracture in his left hand. We just saw there then Pecco Bagnaia. Can we offer any crumbs of comfort right now to the under the siege number 63, 21st on the grid? Bagnaia, only the second time in 121 MotoGP starts that he finds himself outside of the top 20. The only time he started in MotoGP lower was Portimao in 2022, but of course on that occasion he didn't even register a time in Q1 because he crashed in rain conditions. So in a qualifying session in MotoGP, which Pecco Bagnaia has actually notched a lap time, this by far head and shoulders his worst. 23rd and 21st yesterday, 17th this morning, 21st on the grid. Lewis, it's getting harder and harder to watch what's going on right now on that side of the factory Ducati garage.
It's so sad to see a rider who has been so good over so many years now in the red of factory Ducati at such a low ebb in his MotoGP career. Felix, well, he said he's going to take a miracle to get through Q1. He was proven correct. He was nowhere near getting through. A 38.5 was over half a second away from qualifying 2 earlier on today. I don't know what the next thing up from a miracle is, but it's going to take one of those for him to score any points in this sprint, and you fear score any tomorrow either. This is a weekend that Pecco Bagnaia, even before the sprint has got underway, will be quite happy to see the end of. First time then in 50 Grand Prix, Alex Marquez comes to pole position, and he did it in some style, didn't he, this morning? That 137.536 was absolutely phenomenal. Clear where Alex is making his time. '13 and 14 clearly where Mark has earmarked Alex as being the strongest so far this weekend. Now, Pedro Acosta led FP1 yesterday. The replicating factory racing team had a 1-2 with Binder and Acosta at the end of practice yesterday. And he's got great race pace, no doubt about that, has Acosta. What can he do from 5th on the grid? Well, let's get the thoughts of his crew chief, Paul Trebath, news with Jack.
Yeah, that's exactly what I want to find out as well. A great day yesterday. Pedro looks really strong under rhythm as well. What can he do today, Paul?
Yeah, mate, it's the million-dollar question as always, but to be honest, we put another really solid weekend together. Get through that first tricky chicane here after the start, a good start, and then everything's to play for, you know. We've got a couple of areas where we still wanted to work on, and we've seemed to have got better in those as the weekend's gone on, and now we just got to put it all together.
We know it's going to be a real tyre management race tomorrow. Even in the sprint, in these temperatures, are you going to have to look after that rear?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You know, the soft has, or even the medium, you've got to manage both tyres, you know, and you can't go full noise the whole race. There's no way.
Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you, buddy. Thanks.
Yeah, time management certainly will be prevalent in the 24-lap Grand Prix tomorrow afternoon. Pedro Acosta, though, has found his golden touch once again. 2 podiums in the last 3 sprints, 2 podiums in the last 3 Grand Prix, has seen him soar now up to 5th place in the World Championship. by far the leading light for the factory KTMs.
Here's the grid then. Alex Marquez, Fabio Quartararo and Marc Marquez on the front row. Alex Marquez's first pole since the second round of 2023. Frankie Morbidelli, Pedro Costa and Fabio Di Gianantonio, 2 VR46 and a KTM on row 2. Zarco, Agura and Bastianini on row 3. Agura the top Aprilia. Luca Marini 10th from Brad Binder, who was quickest yesterday, and Marco Bezzecchi in 12th. Fermin Aldeguer was just thousandths away from getting through out of Q1, but he starts 13th ahead of Jack Miller and Raul Fernandez. Miguel Oliveira, Joan Mir and Jorge Martin Carrillo 18th. Aleix Espargaro 19th ahead of Alex Rins and Pecco Bagnaia. That smile on the graphic most certainly not on his face in 21st. Maverick Vinales 22nd from Lorenzo Savadori and Songkyak Chantra, and certainly the evidence of the graphics at this stage would indicate that every rider is going medium soft for the sprint.
Just a little bit of housekeeping to bring you as well. It does involve former world champion Joan Mir. He's going to get a 3-place grid penalty for the Grand Prix here tomorrow. Slow riding at turn 5 in Q1. We'll see Mir drop from 17th to 20th. Despite that penalty, he'll still start ahead of Bagnaia. Just shows how big the issues have been for Bagnaia. Let's go back down to Jack on the grid.
Yeah, I've got Pablo Nieto with me, 2 riders on the second row of the grid. Of course, last time we went racing on Sprint Saturday, Pablo, we had 2 bikes on the podium. More of the same today.
I wish it's going to be the same, no? But I think we have a very good chance. We have to try to make our best. Of course, here it's going to be very, very hard, but like every Saturday and Sunday. It was also hard for Dilla because he passed from Q1 to Q2. But anyway, we will see what happens on the race.
Good luck, have fun.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks to Pablo Nieto. Yeah, there'll be high hopes for VR46 racing. Morbidelli 4th, for Gian Antonio 6th. He had to do it the hard way, didn't he, as well, did you? Second to Quartararo in that record-breaking Q1 session. Pecco Bagnaia. It's a heck of a long walk, isn't it, back to 21st place on the grid for a rider who won the sprint and the Grand Prix on our most recent visit here, the Solidarity Grand Prix back in mid-November of 2024. Been a poor weekend as well by Marco Bezzecchi's recently exceptional high standard. Slowest rider in this morning's Q2 session was Bez, worst qualifying in 7th since Aragon. There are the medals, gold, silver and bronze. That's the prizes awaiting our top 3 at the end of this 12-lap sprint. Yeah, surprisingly, I guess to see Bez almost 9/10 of a second as well away from pole, given his recent Grand Prix form. 4 podiums in the last 5, 3 in a row on Sundays for the first time in his MotoGP career. And as Lewis just touched upon when we saw the grid, Agura is the top Aprilia qualifier, the Moto2 world champion from last year. Only the 3rd time we're seeing Agura start inside the top 10 this year.
Yeah, of course, in those 5 Grand Prix you mentioned, only Marc Marquez has scored more points than Marco Bezzecchi. Of course, Marc Marquez has scored a lot, but Marco Bezzecchi has scored 103 points in that period, 23 more than anybody else not named Marc Marquez. But he's certainly going to have to be busy on the opening lap in the sprint to get himself into the points down to 9th place, of course, and we'll of course repeat this tomorrow when we go racing over double the distance over 24 laps tomorrow. But this is one of the turn 1s on the Grand Prix calendar that fills the MotoGP grid with the most trepidation. It's one of the longest runs down into one of the heaviest braking zones, down all the way from around 350 kilometers an hour when you are carrying full speed. Of course, they won't be finding quite as quick as that off the start line from a standing start, but down to around 95 k's into turn 1. We see chaos into that first corner more often than we don't.
Yeah, Bezzecchi's recent upturn in fortunes alongside Bagnaia's massive downturn in fortunes means it's game on really in the fight for 3rd in this World Championship. Just 31 points splitting the 2 Italians. Well, it's been plain sailing for much of 2025 for Marc Marquez, 175 points clear in the championship. It's been anything but plain sailing throughout this weekend for Pecco Bagnaia, a career worst qualifying in MotoGP. Let's get the thoughts of the boss, Davide Tardossi, with Jack.
Yeah, he is. He just receives a handshake from Gunther Steiner, who we'll be speaking to on the grid tomorrow. Down here on row 7 of the grid, it's not where we expect to see Pecco Davide. It's been a disastrous weekend so far. Mentally, how does he approach this?
Yeah, that's the main. I mean, we are trying to keep health the brain attitude that we think that is one part of the small disaster. On the technical side, we are trying hardly to help him, but you know, everything much followed the same way. And the only thing that I'm happy is that Ducati, Pecco, we are all in line, we are all aboard. We was happy when we won. We are. No, now it's time to keep the bike almost like it is, and to keep confidence with this kind of bike and with the setup.
And just finally, we have to touch on Mark. It looks as though this is as vulnerable as he's looked for a long time.
But we have to win the championship, not every race. So in the end, I think that today Alex shows that he's the faster, and maybe he will gain the race. He has a Ducati, so we are very happy. We really think that Mark can be on the podium, and that's it.
Thanks, Davide.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks to Ducati Lenovo team boss Davide Tardozzi. Yeah, he's done serial winning, hasn't he, so far this year? Mark, 23 out of 28 races have gone the way of number 93 so far. Is he going to get somebody else have a crack at the front here today? Alex, no question, is this big pre-sprint favourite. The 93 and 73, well, they're backed by thousands and thousands of Catalan fans who've come to see their home heroes. What can Fabio Quartararo do? Can he maybe be the fly in the ointment? Can he gate crash the Marquez party? Second on the grid is Quartararo. He was superb this morning. Fastest with the first ever 137 lap around this Barcelona circuit to get himself through Q1, and then he took full advantage to fire himself up onto that front row in second place. Let's keep an eye on Fabio. 48th front row starting MotoGP for him.
And for those thoughts, as Pecco Bagnaia sits on the grid, I do wonder whether he will almost approach this sprint as something of a public test session, really. I mean, what else can he do? I mean, the team, as we heard there from Davide Tardozzi, have decided not to do what they did in Hungary, which is throw a bit of a radical setting at the bike to try and give him the feeling which he thought he'd found in Hungary. He was very positive. This time, though, it's more Pecco that needs to make the big reset.
Yeah, the only three riders behind him, Maverick Vinales, who said himself he's riding with one arm as he recovers with that left shoulder. Of course, Somkat Chantra back for the first time in 4 rounds since Assen, and Lorenzo Savadori, the Aprilia test rider. Let's go down the grid, though. It's been a super Saturday so far for Alex Marquez in Gravina Racing. Can he get the job done? Over 12, that's Michele Massini, the boss. He's waiting to talk to Jack.
Yeah, I think you would have to say, Alex, that the man to beat this morning. Confidence, Michele?
Yeah, more, and I think that we are back to our real potential, even better in the time attack, I would say, because was definitely flying in the sector 4, but we will see. The pace is there, so we are all the ingredients to make a good sprint and also a good race of tomorrow.
For so long we've seen Mark versus Alex in the sprints. Is there anybody else that you think could potentially spoil the party?
I think that also Pedro, for me, will be fighting for the top position, but so we will see. As you know, we have to make a perfect start, a perfect turn 1-2, and then try to take some gap from the rider behind, but we will try.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks to Michele Massini. Nail on head. All the ingredients are there for Alex to get the job done over these 12 laps in this Tissot sprint. He's had 13 sprint podiums previously, Alex. 3 victories. The last of those was at Silverstone, the only time that 93 has been headed so far on Sprint Saturdays this year. In go the earplugs. Time to block out the noise. Time to get himself fully focused and ready to try and conquer Mark in Catalunya. Not been an easy task throughout 2025 on Sprint Saturdays.
It's been a nigh on impossible task, with the exception, as you say, of Silverstone. Speaking of noise, of course, we heard Paul Travatin saying that Pedro Acosta and everybody else can't go full noise in this sprint. As Davide Tardozzi with some final words of encouragement to Pecco Bagnaia. Just anything that he can grasp onto, just cling onto as some sort of positive from this Saturday sprint will do for Pecco Bagnaia. Every time we think it can't get worse, it does. Can he finally start the long road back to recovery today?
Last November, Bagnaia cleaned up. Pole position, sprint win and Grand Prix win here in Barcelona. Fast forward to September 2025 and it has been a spectacular fall from grace. Will next weekend in Misano offer him any kind of home hope as he tries to arrest what's been a shocking recent slide? One Grand Prix win so far this season without a sprint win at all in 2025. You've got to go all the way back to Mugello since the last time he was on a sprint podium for Bagnaia. So yeah, these are tough times. He keeps telling the media, he keeps telling his team that he's digging deep to try and find himself out of this massive hole. Problem he's got as well though is his teammate on the opposite side of the garage is just cruising to that 7th MotoGP world title. Can he take another giant leap towards glory? Of course, just a quick reminder, it's been a number that's been on the forefront of most people's minds. 10 is the magic number here this weekend for Marc Marquez. 10 points more than Alex here over the Sprint and Grand Prix. Well, it could be a mission accomplished next time out at Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli. Always felt like it's been all eyes on Alex to make sure that we have to wait possibly until the Japanese Grand Prix at the Mobility Resort Motegi for Marquez crown world champion. Racked up a whole bunch of Premier Class world titles in Motegi, didn't he, when he was a Honda rider back in the day?
Of course, over the last week or so, Marc Marquez has been at pains to point out that he doesn't really want to have a match point or to clinch the World Championship in Misano next weekend, because it would mean something has gone seriously wrong for his brother Alex Marquez. Not a lot has gone wrong for Alex Marquez through this weekend so far.
And it certainly has. The third fastest yesterday afternoon, and the weekend has just got better and better. Second quickest this morning, and that trend of improvement continued when he qualified first in Q2. It's a beautiful Saturday afternoon here in sunny Spain. The safety car you can see there peeling off into the heavy braking zone for the first corner. Let's hope that there's no drama when the field hit the brakes. 24 riders fighting for a tiny piece of tarmac as they tip it into this first right-hander. There's a long run down to that turn one. They're already in excess of 250 kilometers an hour when they hit the brakes. Just hope they all make it safely through. Front row then, Alex on pole position. Two Marquez brothers on the front row of the grid. Everybody going medium front, soft rear in terms of the Michelin tyre choice. Marc Marquez then third here for this Barcelona sprint. Fabio Quartararo after topping Q1, second on the grid. But for the first time in 2.5 years, his first pole in 50 Grand Prix is their home success beckoning for Alex Marquez. Ducati's last sprint defeat was right here at the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya last May. You've got to go back to the end of May in 2025 for the last time Marc Marquez was beaten in a Tissot sprint this year. That was, on that occasion, at Silverstone, the British Grand Prix. And who got the better of him on that day? It was his Gresini Racing brother, Alex, who starts this 12-lap Tissot sprint here in Catalunya from pole position. He is the big sprint favourite as he looks to try and extend this MotoGP World Championship battle beyond next weekend in Misano. A front row that features Alex, Quartararo and Marc. Row 2, Frankie Morbidelli, Pedro Acosta, who's one to watch in this upcoming sprint. We've seen great race pace all weekend from Acosta. He lost what looked like being a front row lap at the end of Q2 this morning when he exceeded track limits coming out of the final corner, and then he went off-roading as well on his final flying lap, which sees Acosta start from 5th. And then what about some of the big names in MotoGP's modern era? Well, Jorge Martin, 18th on the factory Aprilia, the very circuit last November where he was crowned MotoGP World Champion. The first independent team rider to do so for them. What was Pramac Ducati, and it's even worse as far as Pecco Bagnaia is concerned. 2022 and 2023 world champion. Well, he is stuck way down the order, right at the back of row 7. So Alex then on pole for just the second time in MotoGP. 3 previous sprint wins for Alex. There's the maths, all relatively simple. If Marc outscores Alex by 10 points this weekend, he'll have a chance to win the title at Misano next time out. Incredible. It sort of underlines, doesn't it, what an outstanding, phenomenal year Marc is having in red for the first time. He could be world champion in Misano next weekend with 6 rounds and 222 points. Still left to fight for. We saw Marc dancing on the air fence, didn't we, last May when he was part of the Gresini project. Gresini's current Marquez star, though, is Alex, and that star has shone brightly all weekend so far here in Catalunya. Being fast in practice is one thing, being fast in qualifying and on pole position is great, a massive boost. But now it's when it really matters, when there are World Championship points at stake and on the line. Alex slots the Ducati GP24 then into pole position. Beautiful day here, almost perfect day to go Grand Prix racing in MotoGP. Barely any wind, ambient temperature nudging close to 30 degrees. So the 24 riders lining up then for this Monster Energy Grand Prix of Catalonia. Sprint action coming your way next. It's lights out and we're racing in the sprint here in Barcelona. It's a great launch away from pole position by Alex Marquez. Likewise Pedro Acosta, who's going in between Quartararo and Maher, looking for the way through there. Either needle from the KTM rider. He's now going the long way around the outside of Quartararo and Marquez. Quartararo through the inside of Acosta and Marc. It's Alex that leads, but what a start by Quartararo and Acosta.
Some serious bravery being shown there into turn 1. Acosta got it hooked up beautifully off the line. He was straight through the middle of the other riders on the second row. The VR46 Ducatis, it was Morbidelli who had an absolute shocker off the line. He's back to 15th place.
So Alex has made the picture perfect start. Going to be careful here, braking downhill, this tricky downhill left-hander turn 5. This is where Marc had the big scare on his last flying lap in Q2 this morning.
Further back, Bastianini in 6th place from Zarco Marini. Miller up to 9th place ahead of Binder, who's also in progress. Agura, another rider who's gone backwards on the first lap, down to 12th place.
Yeah, Agura has lost 5 places in that early melee as they now career through at turn 9. The third gear right-hander hard on the brakes now to turn 10. Good early overtaking opportunity, this one.
Yeah, and it's going to be an opportunity that Marc Marquez might have to take, because Quartararo could be a bit of a cork in the bottle here, but he is not letting Marc Marquez through at all, is he?
They touched. It looked like there was a clear contact going into 10 between Marc and Quartararo, but Quartararo is not taking this line down at all, is he? And all out at the end of it, Acosta also gets through on Marc. Ultra aggressive from factory Yamaha star Quartararo. He's up in a second. He's fighting hard for this one.
Yeah, really tough one there, of course, because it's not very easy to see the other rider when you leaned over like that. But look at the advantage it's giving Alex Marquez as Marc Marquez gets a good run now. Acosta picks up the slipstream. Quartararo is going to get absolutely swamped on the run down to turn 1.
Yeah, he's been blitzed, and Marquez with a 2-bike slipstream has the inside line. How did he get that stop on the inside
again
of Acosta? Quartararo again. That's 2 laps in a row now. He's just rode around the outside of Acosta going into 2. This is all playing into the hands of Alex, isn't it, right now at the front, while all this drama and carnage is unfolding behind Alex. He's now nearly 3/4 second clear of the field.
Acosta back through again into 3rd place. He wants to get off after the Marquez brothers, but Quartararo won't let him.
This is a brilliant early battle in Barcelona. Acosta's going to send it on the inside of Quartararo. Is he down the hill into turn 5? He's not close enough. Quartararo's just too good on the brakes there, into 5.
Digi's getting stuck in as well. He's right behind this in 5th place with the best seats in the house, watching this battle up ahead of him. Marc Marquez is just about keeping Alex in view. The advantage is just over half a second. Marc, now having won that battle with Quartararo, can now focus on what's ahead.
Yeah, he's head down. He's mindful here of clearing the danger behind him, isn't he? Because he's had some early skirmishes here with both Acosta and Quartararo. Acosta's not going to be close enough to attack Quartararo on the brakes into turn 10. How good. How late is Quartararo braking on that M1?
Keep an eye on Morbidelli. He's still way down. He's actually lost the 3rd place. He's down to 16th place. Martin still back in 18th. Mir and Bagnaia at 19th and 20th. The world champions deep on the grid and making no progress.
You feel for Quartararo now as he pings it through the Catalunya corner, turn 14, because he knows what's coming. He will know what's coming behind him. Acosta on the freight train KTM will pick up some slipstream. But Gian Antonio as well. Marc is the fastest rider on circuit, having cleared that early trouble. A 1:38.592. Sees Marc set the fastest lap. Quartararo got great exit, didn't he? Great drive out the final corner, because Acosta's KTM could not even get in the slipstream.
Yeah, impressed by that for Quartararo. So this is the battle. This is on board with Quartararo, looking back at Marquez on the first lap. So Marc tries to go at the inside. Quartararo slams the door shut in his face, but that contact sends Quartararo slightly wide. Marc then tries to go back up the inside of him, and Fabio decides to just punt him out of the way, essentially. It was a perfectly fine move, but it was certainly a forceful one into turn 12, and then Marc Marquez dished out some punishment to Pedro Acosta on the next lap.
Breathless early action in Barcelona, and with Acosta nudge wide by Marc, that allowed Quartararo to ride around the outside of the Spaniard. Gian Antonio then now has got through on Acosta. Didn't see this coming. Digi then now has moved up into P4. So a bit of respite right now then for Quartararo in 3rd place.
Yeah, and credit Quartararo. He's keeping up with the Marquez brothers, who are trying to pull clear at the front. Quartararo's actually got slightly closer to Marc Marquez partway through this lap. So did Acosta make a mistake, or did Digi just take the advantage and just move through on him? So it's now Ducati, Yamaha, Ducati as Zarco goes sailing in to turn 10 and nearly cleans out Acosta.
Yeah, that's not going to work, Sharon. That's not the optimal line going through turn 10. That's cost Zarco 2 places. He was running in 6. Both Bastianini and Binder for the KTMs have fired on through.
So the KTMs are now running as a trio. Acosta 5th, Bastianini 6th, and Binder 7th. Zarco dropping back to 8th as a result of that. Let's see the lap times of the Marquez brothers this time around, and it certainly looks like Quartararo is keeping up with them. 38.8 for the Marquez brothers, 38.8 for Quartararo. He is very much going with them.
Yeah, his fastest lap of this sprint so far. Was still slightly slower though than both Alex and Marc ahead of him. Personal best as well from the Gian Antonio with a 1:39.120. It was a poor 3rd lap, that wasn't it? For Acosta, who was almost back in the mid 1:39s.
Yeah, that mistake from Zarco costing the thick end of a second. He was back in the 140s. Betzeki's got good pace. He's done a 39.3. He's in 10th place, just outside the point. So he's mired in a lot of traffic with Luca Marini and John Zarco, the 2 Hondas just up ahead of it.
Martin started 18th. He's up to 16th. He just passed Frankie Morbidelli. Nothing going whatsoever for Paul Pecco Bagnaia, who started way down in 21st. Bagnaia has been able to fight his way through on Alex Rins, and that's about it. Bagnaia's doing low 140s. I mean, Marc Marquez, his teammate on the same kit, is over 1.2 seconds a lap faster than Bagnaia.
Bagnaia's actually under a bit of pressure from Rins in that battle for P20. I can't believe I'm saying those words, but that's the situation we're in. He can't go with the group up ahead of him at the moment. We often see from Bagnaia, don't we, in the sprints, when he's in a pack, when he's following riders, he just can't get closer to them nor overtake them. Bastianini saying getting close enough in this all KTM battle for 5th, 6th and 7th. Bastianini currently at the back of that trio.
That lap time gap is actually big. I was doing Marc a disservice. It's 1.5 seconds is the massive chasm between the 93 and 63 in terms of their early pace in this sprint. The lead group then will charge through the Catalunya corner. This is a good battle starting to emerge between 33 and 23. Binder versus Bastianini. Binder got through on the Italian on that last lap. The gap between Alex and Marc at the front sort of holding steady around just over 0.6 of a second. There's a gap then, well, almost an identical gap of another 0.6 back to Quartararo in 3rd.
There was a move coming in the background there. I think it was Aldeguer coming through on Miller as we take a look at the future CEO of Tech 3, Gunter Steiner, and that was the future team principal just in the foreground there to Richard Coleman. They'll be watching Bastianini then currently in 7th place. Maverick Vinales, the other Tech 3 KTM. He's just overtaken Lorenzo Savadori. He is right at the back of the field, unfortunately, Maverick.
Bagnaia 6.5 tenths almost behind Honda test rider, Aleix Espargaro, who's in 19th place. Ayagura was having a pretty miserable sprint at the moment, starting on that excellent 8th spot. He's just been picked up by Prima Pramac Yamaha rider Oliveira, so Agura now down into 14th spot.
Signs of the elastic between the Marquez brothers and Quartararo finally snapping. Quartararo back into the 39s last time around, although he is still, in fairness to Fabio, still the 3rd fastest rider on the track at the moment. The Marquez brothers are trading 38.7s. Quartararo did a 39.0. He's now the best part of a second clear of that Gian Antonio Acosta battle.
Still best Honda is Zarco, although he's got the Honda of Marini for company directly behind him. Marini at the moment occupying that final point, scoring place in 9th. We move in front of the Marc Marquez grandstand through 12. You'll see Marc off into the distance. We're currently on board with the factory Aprilia of Marco Bezzecchi. This is looking directly ahead to the 2 Hondas of Marini and Zarco. Further back then is Morbidelli, who's had a shocker. Frankie Morbidelli started this sprint in 4th place on the grid. He's gone nothing but backwards throughout, and we've got to go an awful long way back up to Pecco Bagnaia, who is still circulating in a very lonely 20th place.
And still doing low 140s as we watch the battle for the final sprint point. Zarco 8th, Marini 9th. Bezzecchi at the moment on the factory Aprilia not scoring any points. This is a big battle between Pramac and Trackhouse. It's 2 versus 2, isn't it? As Miller and Oliveira lead, Raul Fernandez and Ayagura. It's Miller who's coming out of this ahead.
Yeah, there's some bragging rights at stake, isn't there, between that quartet. Raul Fernandez then launches it on the inside of his teammate Agura into turn 4. Agura, fair play, he's defended exceptionally well there, hasn't he, as they long sweep through that right-hander. Marc Marquez, quickest rider on circuit on that previous lap, a 1:38.883, was just a smidgen faster than Alex ahead of him. Those two now are clear daylight between themselves and Quartararo.
Quartararo continues to eke out that advantage over Gian Antonio, who's firmly broken clear of Acosta now. There's a second between Gian Antonio and Acosta, and for me this is the big surprise of this Tito sprint. I was expecting Acosta to be much more of a player in the podium battle than this.
Yeah, not going to pick a fight with you on that one, Lewis. Absolutely. I thought if anybody could go with Alex and Marc at the front of this sprint, it would be Acosta on the 37. His challenge not materialised at all, really, since a pretty eventful first couple laps. He's now 3.5 seconds behind Alex at the front of this sprint. Quartararo then looking well set for what would just be his 3rd ever sprint podium on the factory Yamaha. He's just riding out of his skin once again, isn't he, Quartararo? You can see Alex and Martin, and they've already crossed the line. They're on lap 7 of 12 now here. That gap has crept up. It's just under 0.8 of a second.
Yeah, Alex looks like he might be starting to wrestle control of this. We've got a good view of the old Honda battle just overhead. We're watching from the onboard camera of Marco Bezzecchi, and that was Luca Marini taking Johan Zarco back, but he's sailed wide now into turn 1, and Zarco at a turn 2 that he's already crashed at this weekend regains that 8th place.
Yeah, there's a bit of a slipstream there, just sucking Marini perhaps in a little bit hot into that heavy braking zone for turn 1. Zarco will want bragging rights at HRC as now Marini's under attack from Bezzecchi behind him. Aldeguer coming right into contention here as well. We know how good Aldeguer is when the tyres start to wear through. 5 ahead of this battle are both Alex and Marcus. Bez on the inside of Marini, that was lovely. And Aldeguer fancied a little nibble at the Italian as well ahead of him, but Bezzecchi then now up into 9th.
I thought Aldeguer was just about to put his front tyre in a place where it probably didn't belong, but he just about backed out of it and managed to avoid a collision, but he caught this trio very quickly on the last lap. He was in the 39s as the 3 ahead were in the 140s, and it's brought Aldeguer into some point scoring contention now.
Yeah, Alex is controlling this sprint superbly well at the front at the moment. He's going to be very, very soon a second clear for the first time, Marc. That gap has crept up to 0.9 of a second as they're now in the final sector. On this lap 7, we've got yellow flags out. It's not involving Alex or Marc. You can see those two on the top left-hand side of the pitch, and visibly from the helicopter shot, you can see Alex.
It's Morbidelli and Martin.
Yeah, Morbidelli and Martin then have tangled at turn 10. Turn 10, those two have gone down. Was it separate or was it together? We'll find out very, very shortly. Yeah, I was just about to say, you can see from the helicopter shot, Alex is checking out here. 1.1 seconds clear of Marc.
Yeah, well, that's an absolute clatter into the side. I think we were on board with Martin there, where we were. That's Morbidelli straight into the side of the world champion. And there's one thing he doesn't need. It's another VR46 Ducati riding into him, because he's had that once already this season back in Qatar. Morbidelli might well be facing a penalty. We'll have to see further replays and other angles of that, but Morbidelli could be in some hot bother for that.
Yeah, and he's a regular client, isn't he, so far this season, of Simon Crowfar in the F1 MotoGP Stewards office. initial view, of course, they will have better looks of it than us, but it looked like it was all on Frankie on that occasion. Marini's been pushed to the back of this battle, hasn't he? It's Aldeguer. Oh! Aldeguer, trail-breaking down the hill into turn 5, locks the front and cleans out Marco Bezzecchi, who's got a whack there on his left arm and his left wrist. It is concerning, isn't it, for Marco Bezzecchi and the factory Aprilia team, just as Bez was getting himself into the battle for 3rd place in this World Championship. A week out of his home Grand Prix in Misano, and Bezzecchi has been taken out by Aldeguer.
Well, remember, Aldeguer took Oliveira out in the sprint in Argentina, so he's also got a little bit of form for this. But the 2 factory Aprilias taken out in consecutive laps.
Trouble magnets, aren't they? The factory Aprilias, a miserable Catalan sprint for Aprilia, who've had so much success here, haven't they, in the past.
Binder through on Acosta now. It's Binder who leads this trio of KTMs, which is 5th, 6th and 7th. So Pedro Acosta, not only is he not involved in the battle of the podium, he's not the top KTM any longer. Binder, who was fastest yesterday, is now the fastest of the KTMs. And in the end, it's now given the Hondas, Zarco and Marini, a battle amongst themselves for those final points positions, with Bezzecchi and Aldeguer now out of the way.
Yeah, this has been very underwhelming, I think it's fair to say, as far as Acosta is concerned. We all thought he was going to be right in the thick of the battle for a medal here this afternoon. Just has not happened at all. Kicking Aprilia while they're down. It looks like Lorenzo Savadori has retired. Yeah, he has, with a technical issue. So all 3 factory Aprilias then out of this sprint. Acosta then now goes on the inside. Binder, that's not going to work out. Both tyres were sliding there, weren't they? He grabbed a handful of brake going into turn 4, and Binder just stuck to his racing line on the inside and says, no, you're not having that one, pal.
Well, they can't battle for the podium. They might as well have some fun amongst themselves. That's certainly what they're having at the moment. And Enea Bastianini's watching this, hoping to pick up some crumbs in the final 3.5 laps.
Yeah, this is a pretty intense battle between that trio for 4th place, 5th rather, Di Gianantonio at the moment in a pretty lonely 4th spot. 1.1 seconds he is behind Quartararo, although to be fair to Digia,
that's Alex Marquez.
Alex Marquez has dumped it out of the lead. Alex Marquez, can you believe it? They can't believe it inside Gresini Racing, because Alex was in cruise control. He had it in his hands. The gold medal was there for the taking. He just increased his lead to 1.5 seconds, and it's a present, it's a gift, isn't it, for brother Mark, who can now tour to his 14th sprint win of the season. That is a massive blow for Alex. He's been so good all weekend, but he has dropped the ball at the most crucial moment. And of course, what this means, depending on what happens tomorrow in the main Grand Prix, we remind you, if Mark outscores Alex by 10 points or more this weekend, then he could win the World Championship next time out in Misano, and he's already got 12. He has already got 12, so it is all on Alex now to somehow find a way to beat Mark in the Grand Prix tomorrow. Otherwise, it's match point number 1 for Mark in Misano.
Talk about snatching defeat from the jaws of victory, as Bastianini now piles through on Binder, who's now been overtaken by 2 KTMs in the space of 2 sectors. Alex Marquez had the gold medal in his hands as now Enea attacks Acosta. He's taken both of the other factory KTMs on this lap. This is a fantastic battle between the trio of RC16s for 4th, 5th and 6th now, of course, with Alex Marquez out in the action.
Well, Pit Byron's looking on here going, I suppose at least they're trading the same pace.
Good for the sponsor.
This has been a real battle and a half, hasn't it, between this trio. And they're all going to want to be a top KTM in this sprint. Not the position that they would have wanted to have been in, but they're wanting a medal, but at least they're having a right good battle right here through turn 10, where Alex Marquez has just crashed out of a massive lead. Mark probably cannot believe his eyes. We're all getting ready to chuck another gold medal around Alex's neck, weren't we? This, of course, then has put Quartararo up into 2nd, the Gianantonio into 3rd. The 2 Fabios who starred in Q1 this morning when they came through the opening qualifying session are going to capitalise on that brilliant performance, it looks like, with sprint medals here.
This battle between the KTMs, it's continuing. I think we almost wish this sprint was a bit longer, so this battle can continue. They're practically 3 abreast into turn 1. This time, to test your identification on the 3 identical bikes, it's Acosta who comes through turn 1 ahead. I mean, hey, if there's one rider who didn't need any gifts in 2025, it is Marc Marquez, but boy, has his brother handed him a massive gift, a gift in the form of 12 points and a gold medal.
Yeah, and it could be game over in terms of the championship now. Next weekend in Misano, it could be game over this time next weekend, depending on what happens tomorrow. Marc Marquez could be crowned world champion after the sprint in San Marino next weekend. He's crashed in 3 of the last 5 Grand Prix as Alex. His form has deserted him of late a lot, and unfortunately in the sprint, well, cheers are going to turn to tears, aren't they, as far as Alex is concerned. He probably cannot believe what has just happened. It was there for the taking. He'd done all the hard work. He'd done everything right up until that moment at turn 10.
And what that's all meant further back. So this battle between the trio KTMs is for 4th, 5th, 6th. Zarco's 7th now, ahead of Marini, and Miguel Oliveira, who's winning that 4-way battle between Trackhouse and Pramac, 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th. Oliveira, as it stands, is on course for his first sprint point of 2025.
Yes, and while Aldeguerra and Morbidelli have gone bowling balls on the factory Aprilia squad ahead of him, Pecco Bagnaia has been pushed up to 14th place, but he's nowhere near the point scoring places. So, last lap underway. Marc Marquez will be working out the maths himself. He knows, as he extends this unbelievable winning streak here further back, Costa, Bastianini and Binder are still going at it, aren't they?
Cup for 4th
shoulder
place.
to shoulder, knee to knee, elbow to elbow. This has been an epic fight for 4th place. Once again, though, it's in the hands of 37 Acosta. Quattro and the Gian Antonio look like they're locked and loaded for 2nd and 3rd.
Yeah, no, you're not watching a Red Bull Rookies race. This is the battle of the Red Bull KTMs for 4th, 5th and 6th. Boy, have they provided us with some entertainment this afternoon. Well, last weekend, and actually on the eve of this weekend, Marc Marquez said, I don't know if I want to win the World Championship in Misano because it means something has gone wrong for my younger brother Alex. How prophetic those words might prove to be.
He has gone spectacularly wrong as far as Alex is concerned, because he will know that there's going to be never a better opportunity for him to win a sprint in front of his home crowd than this one. Ayagura has just retaken 9th place away from Oliveira in that battle for the final point scoring place in this sprint. The crowd are on their feet. They are hailing once again their home hero. He's right in front of his own grandstand here. We are 93, and 93 is going to extend this phenomenal winning run in 2025. It's now going to be an 8th successive sprint victory this season, and he is now inching ever closer to winning that elusive 7th MotoGP world title. Your sprint winner here in Barcelona is Marc Marquez. He takes the checker flag 1.3 seconds clear of Fabio Quartararo. Acosta just about wins the battle of the KTMs. The Gian Antonio takes 3rd place. Excellent ride by the VR46 Ducati rider. Acosta, Bastianini and Binder, not even a 10th of a second, covered the KTM trio over the line. Points for Zarco, Marini and Agura, who did wrestle that 9th place away from Oliveira on the last lap. Pecco Bagnaia takes a forlorn 14th place. And speaking of forlorn, speaking of dejected, how do you offer any kind of comfort right now to Alex Marquez? Well, it's fine margins in MotoGP. As we mentioned, he'd done everything right. He'd been picture perfect in that sprint, right up to the moment when you're on the limit, when you're on the edge, and it all goes wrong. And what it means now then, Marc Marquez, with his 14th sprint win in the opening 15 rounds. What an unbelievable Super Saturday record he has got. He's 12, well, he's taken 12 points, an additional 12 points. Barcelona tomorrow after the 24-lap Grand Prix, 10 points or more clear. He can win the World Championship next time out in Misano. Once again, well, this was never really in doubt from lap 1 of round 1 in Thailand, wasn't it? 2025 MotoGP Constructor Champions once again are Ducati. Congratulations to all connected to Borgo Panigale, and in particular their guru, Gigi Dall'Igna, who has turned Ducati into an unrivaled, almost unbeatable winning force in modern-day MotoGP.
Yeah, they needed to outscore Aprilia by 8 points today in the sprint, and Ironically, it was a couple of Ducati riders that sorted that by taking out the factory Aprilias, but this is the key moment where the sprint was won, or in the case of Alex Marquez, lost. He was 1.5 seconds ahead of Marc Marquez, who I think had given up the ghost and settled for second place until victory fell into his hands.
Oh, well, that's going to hurt. That is going to hurt. Alex ain't going to get any sleep tonight in his motorhome here in Barcelona, that's for sure. The 73 fans, they cannot believe what they have just seen. Take nothing away, though, from Marc. It's never a comfortable position to be in MotoGP, is it, where you sort of see +1, +1.5, 93. What was Marc thinking at that stage? Was he thinking, OK, I'm fine, second place is cool, yeah, it would have been great to have extended this winning run, but Alex has just been the better rider on the day. I'm thinking bigger picture of the championship. But when Alex went down, he was there to pick up the pieces, and next weekend he could be picking up the MotoGP World Championship, adding his name once again to the prestigious, coveted Tower of Champions. Right here, of course, wasn't it, at turn 12, where Jorge Martin had the honours of lifting the trophy himself last November. But today was another massive leap forward for Marc Marquez. And once again, you talk about wildly contrasting fortunes and emotions inside the factory Ducati garage. Because for the 14th time this season, Marc's your sprint winner, and way down in P14, P nowhere, let's be frank, his teammate Pecco Bagnaia, who was 14 seconds behind at the checkered flag.
He went from 21st up to 14th, but with respect, 5 riders went down ahead of him. He only overtook a couple on his way through. Well, Pedro Acosta won the KTM Cup, as I called it, late on for 4th place. They certainly brought the entertainment and brought the action in the sprint, but that wasn't what Pedro Acosta thought he'd be doing at the end of 12 laps of Barcelona.
Let's also give massive shout-outs to our 2 Fabios, Quartararo and Gian Antonio. On the last lap, Quartararo was only... Whoa! Crikey!
Is that the last lap?
Oh, dearie me. We almost had 2 Marquez brothers dumping it. This was just shortly after Alex had gone down the road at turn 10.
Well, I noticed on the lap after, he lost half a second in the second sector to Fabio Quartararo. That was clearly it, because he nearly lost an awful lot. That would have been the ultimate surprise, wouldn't it? If moments after watching his brother crash, Marc did the same as he entertains his fan club. It says on the banners and on the flags, "We are 93." In a week's time, they might be saying, "We are world champion."
Brad Binder, well, it was a superb Friday when he led practice yesterday afternoon. A bit of an unfortunate Q2 this morning when he only had 1 bike at his disposal. That left him 11th on the grid. Binder fights his way through to 6th, and he was in a heck of a fight. The battle of that Barcelona sprint between Acosta, Bastianini and Binder. Just about to say before we saw that amazing save. I think that's what Fabio and Marc are talking about right now, that save that he made going through turn 8. Quartararo's last lap was 1,000th of a second slower than Marc's. He was right on it, wasn't he? Once again, Quartararo. Brilliant performance by him.
He is truly elite, isn't he, in MotoGP?
Yamaha,
Fabio Quartararo.
Yamaha, please give Fabio Quartararo a more competitive Wise Iron one that works at all tracks, because if you do so, well, he'll just do the rest for you.
We might see one next weekend with the V4 debuting at Misano. Yeah, he said yesterday that he thought he had the pace to be in Q2 as of right, was kind of thwarted by some yellow flags, but he wasn't particularly optimistic about his race pace. But there was nothing wrong with it today, was there? He well and truly saw off the challenger to Gian Antonio and the KTMs, but for Marc Marquez's dexterity, it might well have been a win. It's 3rd for Fabio Di Gian Antonio. Back-to-back sprint podiums for Didier. He's for Jack.
Fabio, what a brilliant performance today. Q1 this morning, and now you end the day on the podium. Just how much of that is down to the work that you and the team were able to do overnight to get this result?
Again, they've been amazing. For sure we have to change a little bit our method to start properly the weekend, because our Fridays have never been fantastic this year, but for sure great effort from the team, from the part of the team. Me too, I gave my maximum in the race. I did a good start. I tried to catch Fabio, then for sure a little gift from Alex, but we take it, that's racing, so super happy about today's performance.
He was there to pick up the pieces of Alex Marquez's misfortune That's the 4th sprint podium for the Gian Antonio, as Marc Marquez is going to savour every second of this moment. It is half the job completed towards what could be an 8th successive double win. Just simply unstoppable right now, isn't he, the number 93? He has now moved on to 467 points. 467 points, which is the exact same tally that Pecco Bagnaia needed to win the 2023 World Championship. We've still got 8.5 rounds to go, so there's going to be a record points incoming. What a first year it's been in red for Marc Marquez. He has been by far head and shoulders the main contributor to Ducati retaining the Constructor Championship. They are steamrolling, aren't they, once again, to the Triple Crown. But what a Saturday it's been for Fabio Quartararo. Fastest in Q1, second on the grid, second in the sprint. What a Yamaha hero he is. He's with Jack.
Fabio, what a ride, what a performance, and what a battle that was at the start with Marc as well. It's been an incredibly difficult last couple of weeks, so how much does this mean to you in the team?
Yeah, it means a lot. I think that, you know, to fight with both brother of Marquez, then Acosta, was a super fight. I'm super happy because we came from really tough races, and to be able to fight with them and seeing not so far was so good. So super happy. Thanks to all the fans that are here, especially all the French. So super happy. Thank you.
Top ride. Well done.
Thank you.
Top ride from a top rider. How does he keep doing it on that factory Yamaha? The crowd here in Barcelona, MotoGP fans all around the world are very knowledgeable. They know the job, the impressive job, the brilliant job that Fabio is doing at the moment on that factory Yamaha. Just his 3rd sprint in 54 now. Jorge Martin, well, out of contention in that sprint through no fault of his own, it looked like. We saw the back end of the replay of his incident with Morbidelli running through turn 10. We're going to get a better view of it now. We're on board actually with Bagnaia, who's going to be our front row camera operator for this incident. There is Morbidelli on the inside. He's going to lock the front, and on the outside, cleaned out through no fault of his own. The innocent party, the wrong party, is poor old Jorge Martin, who goes careering into the gravel trap. Wasn't too long after that his teammate Marco Bezzecchi was also in the dirt at turn 5. He was collected by Gresini Racing's Fermin Aldeguer. A bad day for Aprilia Racing, a real bad day for Gresini Racing, seeing Aldeguer go out, hitting Bezzecchi, and then Alex crashing out when he was cruising at the front. It is, though, an 8th successive sprint win for Marc, and he's getting closer to the world title. He's with Jack.
Marc, I imagine it's one of the strangest feelings you've ever had after a win. It's now 15 in a row, another step towards the World Championship, the chance to celebrate in front of your fans, but what was going through your mind when you saw Alex crash out late on?
Yeah, I mean, of course I'm happy for my victory, for the Ducati team, for Ducati Lenovo team, and also we won the Constructors team, Constructors Championship, sorry. And but yeah, unfortunately Alex crashed. I already gave up because he was faster than me, and when I give up, maybe he relaxed a bit too much and he crashed on that turn 10. But he will have another chance tomorrow because he has the best pace. Anyway, we are happy in a circuit that we are struggling. As we see, we are a bit on the limit. You can see my left elbow also was some moments there, but yeah.
Get there, just make sure you do get there onto that podium. Look at this moment. Oh, dearie me. We know, I mean, there's dozens and dozens and dozens of classic Marquez saves from down the years. Stick that one up there with the best of them, because that was shortly after Alex had crashed out of the lead. As you heard from Marc, he felt like he had nothing for Alex in that 12-lapper. He'd given it up. He was happy, as we thought he was, to settle for second place, but he gratefully accepts the gift that comes his way. And there's a bigger prize looming, certainly, as far as the 32-year-old Spaniard is concerned, because, well, Alex has got to find a way to beat him tomorrow, otherwise it will be match point number 1 next time out.
Something about sprints in Barcelona, aren't there? 3 riders crashed out of the lead of the sprint here last year. was Pecco Bagnaia on the final lap after Brad Binder and Ralph Fernandez had blown race-winning positions. And this year, it's the turn of Alex Marquez to give away 12 gift wrap points to his older brother, as Marc Marquez is still talking about that unbelievable save, which saved the sprint win. And Fabio Quartararo is saying, hey, that gold medal could have been going around my neck had you not held on to that one. And if he doesn't lose 2 points tomorrow to Alex Marquez in the following Grand Prix, which Marc seems to suspect he might do, well, he will go to Misano next weekend with a chance to win the World Championship. Third place then goes to Fabio Di Giannantonio. As mentioned, it is back-to-back sprint podiums for him now, the fourth of the season. Managed to pick the bones of an early Quartararo-Acosta battle once Acosta fell back. From that, Di Giannantonio took over third place and never really looked back, but he also never really looked like he was going to chase after this man. You can certainly make a very good case that he was the rider of the sprint, even if it's silver that goes around his neck. And for Fabio Quartararo, of course, that is his best ever sprint result. His two previous sprint podiums were both third places. And for someone who, as I mentioned during the sprint, doesn't need any gifts, but boy did he get one today. It is gold once more for Marc Marquez. Win number 24 in 2025.
Constructor world champions once again are the dominant Ducatis. And now, as you saw on that graphic, if Marc Marquez loses less than 2 points in the Grand Prix here in Catalunya tomorrow, he will head to Misano with his first chance to clinch the 2025 MotoGP World Championship. Some lucky fans are getting some special souvenirs from factory Yamaha star Fabio Quartararo, who clearly by a mile was the Iwata factory star of the show once again, as Marc Marquez addresses his adoring public here at the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya. They came hoping to see him complete or extend this incredible winning record. Well, it's half the job done. Probably a little bit easier at the end than what he was anticipating after Alex crashed out at turn 10. Heartache for 73 fans. Pure joy and celebration once again for 93 fans here in Barcelona. Marc Marquez then victorious by just under 1.3 seconds ahead of Fabio Quartararo. Our two Fabios finding themselves on the podium. As Digia said, he was a bit fortunate with the late drama that came the way of Alex, but you have to be upright at the end, and he certainly was, and he was fast. Great job by Digia. Third for him. Costa winning an all KTM battle for fourth with Bastianini and Binder. Well, there are the battle scars here in Barcelona as it's sprint win number 14 in 2025 for the one and only Marc Marquez.
And halfway to an 8th double in a row. Marc Marquez, the sprint winner from Fabio Bastianini and Binder. Zarco 7th, Marini 8th, and Ayagura did take a point for Aprilia after passing Miguel Oliveira on the final lap. Alex Marquez crashing 4 laps away from a second sprint win of the year. Both factory Aprilias taken out by independent Ducatis. Aldeguer wiping out Bezzecchi, who we hope is okay. Morbidelli took out Martin. which all means this: Marc Marquez leads the World Championship by 187 points over Alex Marquez. As long as it's 185 or more this time tomorrow, he will have a match point in Misano next weekend. Pecco Bagnaia, despite scoring nothing today, remains third, with Marco Bezzecchi failing to score. Pedro Acosta remains fifth in the championship, with Gian Antonio now moving back ahead of his teammate Frankie Morbidelli. Fabio Quartararo, he also gained a place in the championship today as he moves back ahead of his compatriot Johann Zarco. Congratulations to Ducati, they are the Constructors' champions for a 6th consecutive season. Aprilia now cannot catch them. Team standings, well, that'll be wrapped up fairly soon as well, but it's Ducati Lenovo with a lead of 289 over Gresini, who scored no points today. Well, despite failing to score, of course, having crashed out of the lead, Alex Marquez is still well on course for the independent crown. Fabio Gian Antonio and Frankie Morbidelli now locked together at 161 points, with Gian Antonio retaking second today. Gresini lead the Independent Teams Championship, with their lead now cut to 84 points over VR46. What a dramatic sprint that was. Alex Marquez certainly looked for the most part of it until he had it all firmly under control. And appeared to have done a lot of the hard work after getting his Ducati up. Into turn 7, Marc Marquez was not going to pass up. Sprint win, number 14 out of 15 season for Marc Marquez. The World Championship moves a step closer. If he doesn't lose 2 points tomorrow to Alex Marquez, he will have a match point at Misano. Don't miss the Grand Prix of Catalonia tomorrow afternoon.
into the most exciting sport on earth.